Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. I'm just going to give everyone just 1 or 2 minutes to jump in and we'll get started. Thanks. Okay. I want to thank everybody for giving us a few moments this afternoon. My name's Tyler Bauer, and I'm the director of cloud at Cloud at Work. And we specialize in creating the absolute best experiences for Sage end users and Sage partners in the cloud. Today, I want to talk about cloud migration trends for 2022 and really kind of the state of the market. And we'll get into the subject topic here in a little bit. Just really quick, the webinar is going to be roughly an hour, probably the presentation about 30 to 40 minutes. And if you have any questions, please type them into the question box on your tab, and we will get to them at the end. It's my favorite part about doing these is really just collaborating and communicating with you guys. So please feel free to ask any question you'd like. Again, this is just a picture of me. My wife uses this picture to scare the mice away in our garage, but I run our cloud team here, and I've been with Cloud at Work for about 4 years. So I helped start the organization and really have been focused on cloud for the past 12 years of my career. So let's jump right in. Let's talk about 2022. We're about 2 years into this pandemic. It's changed a lot about how we work and how we're productive, or what we consider to be productive. And as we've gotten here to this point, there's really a very unique situation, in my opinion, brewing. And all of these things that we're going to talk about have always been individual siloed topics of discussion. But in my opinion, these have never happened or converged at the rate at which they're converging all at one time. And in my opinion, this is not just a quick trend or a quick thing that's going to move in and move out of our cycles. I believe this isn't going to slow down for quite some time. And I don't think we're going to start to see kind of the calmness of this even through possibly 2023. The goal of this presentation is not to scare anyone. It's very much pointed towards, I want to work with all of our customers and our partners to get into a proactive stance. I see countless times in my past 12 years where folks are reacting to the cloud, meaning something happened to them, something is going on within their business, ransomware, security, server failure, somebody left their organization who took care of them, and they have to kind of snap, react, migrate to the cloud. Now, while that is okay, and we certainly can handle that, and we have handled that for many customers in the past, the challenge becomes it creates a state of chaos that if we look at what's in front of us, we can plan for that, or at least be aware of it, so we can start to see the signs. And if we do that, we're all going to be positioned for success in these conditions. So let's jump right in. The first point that is happening today in the marketplace is supply chain. Now, we have seen up to 40% less lead time. We're getting 40% less lead time here at Cloud at Work than the rest of the marketplace. But within Cloud at Work, for certain pieces of our data centers, and we spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on equipment and data centers, we're seeing 6 to 8 month lead times when it comes to those fulfillments. Now, we're able to plan for that scale because this is our business. This is what we focus on. that we do nothing else but manage services, cloud solutions for Sage users, Sage partners. So we're very easily able to look at our pipeline and look at our business and plan for that. For a business where IT isn't the central focus, really you need IT to be that foundation, to be that principal point of your business so you can build business process, build efficiency, and build different types of things that can move your business forward. In the past, when I talk to a lot of customers who have not yet migrated to the cloud, they have a philosophy of kind of setting it and forgetting it. Now, this sounds like a negative term, but it's actually not. A lot of folks have bought servers, been able to put them into their own office or into their own data center, and been able to maintain those obviously diligently and patch them and update them. And if something broke, you know, they could go down to their local IT provider and get a replacement or get hardware to replace that pretty quickly. As well, you know, if we found kind of the magic bullet, if you will, and we needed to scale infrastructure or scale capability, it was pretty easy to go out and get that. Now it's not. So when you're faced with hardware expenditure or hardware purchases, we now need to think kind of 2 steps ahead, where maybe at one point we were okay taking on a risk of a single point of failure, maybe one switch or one server. Right now, we may need to think about redundancy and creating multiple points for that redundancy. That's going to increase our overall spend. And as well, even if we decide not to do that, if something breaks, now we need to react to a hardware order. And at that point, we're waiting 6 to 8 months. So where in previous years, when you would have an outage or a breakage of infrastructure, you could get new infrastructure rush ordered probably within 3 to 4 days. Those days are now gone. So even major purchasers like Cloud@Work, we're unable to acquire that gear even within 6 to 8 months. And some customers, it's up to a year. In my opinion, this is just the start of it. I think it's going to become more widespread. I think you're going to start to see it even into personal computing and other aspects of our day-to-day work. But certainly from an enterprise business aspect, from an infrastructure aspect, we're seeing it now, and I think it's going to continue to get worse. The second point, the office is almost gone. And I think all of us on this call realize what I'm talking about here, where 3-4 years ago, maybe the predominant workforce within your business was coming into a brick and mortar facility. Once the pandemic started, that threw a lot of wrenches in the pot for a lot of companies, because a lot of their IT infrastructure was not made for remote connectivity. A lot of different resources and solutions had to be kind of put together. But if your baseline infrastructure, internet, compute, storage, all of those things aren't adequate enough for that WAN connection rather than the local connection, it can result in an investment. And as more and more companies begin to diversify how they create their culture and how they create their work experience, whether it's a hybrid or a complete work from home, or it's a 2-day, some roles stay in, some roles can work from home, it's a really big point to think about, because now if we need to kind of accommodate a remote workforce that's critical to our business, it's going to take 6 to 8 months to get that gear and to get that up and running. As well, the workforce is becoming more and more the generation of instant gratification. Think about what we have at our fingertips. We're a generation now, a workforce of seconds, not minutes. I mean, if you look at social media and how that's evolved, and really in our personal lives, you know, we used to watch 30-minute long YouTube videos. Now we watch 30-second TikToks, right? And that's what's engaging for us. The same holds true within our workforce, right? We want to find out ways to do things better, faster, stronger, and that urge and that drive isn't going to slow down, and technology needs to keep up with it. And again, this common theme is, if that's going to increase, if that rate of technology usage and performance efficiency is going to increase because our employees are demanding it or our customers are demanding it, our technology needs to scale with that. One example is really remote virtual reality and tech interaction, or even just overall how we communicate and how we talk to one another today. I don't know about all of you, but in my organization in Cloud at Work, we're pretty much 100% exclusively a Teams organization. Now, we do have a rule: you have to put your video camera on, because we feel like that creates a level of culture and engagement. But pretty soon, right? I was telling my wife, I think we're going to be wearing, the virtual reality headsets and warping into an office space or a real estate within the metaverse. And these types of things are going to cause a different type of challenge with working from home, connecting to office applications. How are we going to do that? How is that going to work efficiently? And you're going to need that foundational principle, that's consistency, to make that happen. One cool stat that I saw from IDC is that by 2025, the average person will interact with smart devices in a data center 4,800 times. So we'll use a smart device and interact with a data center 4,800 times a day. Now, if we're, I think right now we're right around 1,500 or 1,600 on the average. Just think about that. I don't know about you, but in my life, I feel like I'm constantly on devices and interacting with a cell phone or a tablet or my PC. And if that's going to triple, what does that mean for our backend infrastructure and the capability to grow and scale with that, especially if supply chain is in the fold still? The third is cybersecurity. So with all the first 2 points in conjunction, right, security is throwing another major wrench in the bucket. The reason for that is it's not slowing down, and it hasn't slowed down for the past 3 to 4 years. I can remember 5 or 6 years ago, cyber insurance was pretty new. A lot of folks weren't really adopting it in their business. It was kind of, about 8 years ago, it was kind of like a gimmick almost. And just certain security firms were just starting to pop up and really rear their heads. And it was a lot of scare tactics, of course, but certainly it made sense. Now it is a staple in most of our businesses. Well, cybersecurity insurance premiums this past year, on average, have gone up 26%. That should tell you how often our peers are using their policies in 2021. Now, not only is that increasing, but also you have stipulations that are coming from cybersecurity companies that are basically stating you need to have a cybersecurity policy documented, written, and followed. And as well, you need to have dual factor authentication when connecting to applications remotely. The reason they do this is because a study showed that if you have those things in place, if you're focused on them, your chances of using your policy are much less. Where this is heading is more towards, I think, auditing. For instance, Cloud at Work, we have SOC 2 Type 2 as an organization. Every year we get audited, our policies get audited, everyone in our organization, our offices, our data centers, they all are audited through SOC. Now, by having a documentation, a security policy, what that audit does is make sure that you're following it, right? Make sure that you're following that policy. That's going to cost a lot of companies a lot of money and time. And these types of insurance premiums, I believe, are going to do nothing but go up as well, because supply and demand. If cyber and ransomware continues to go up, the need for insurance is going to continue to go up as well. Another reason why I feel the cloud and having kind of a pass-through of those SOC audits and of those policies make a ton of sense for a lot of organizations. It's going to save a lot of time. Now, in 2021, per month in dollars, there was about $102 million transacted in ransomware per month. That's mind-boggling, and it's close to double from the year prior. In 2021, there were 68 different variants of ransomware. And as well, it changed. Early on, when ransomware became a very key word, ransomware was very much let's cast a wide net and see who didn't do their homework, right? Who doesn't have a backup policy, who has bad policies and posture within the office. Now it's become very much targeted. Yes, they cast the wide net, but instead of encrypting all of your files and encrypting all of your stuff, they sit in your network and they wait and see what you're doing. They watch what you do, and then they try and branch out to customers, similar to like how a virus works. So as these become more and more sophisticated, yes, technology can help there. Different types of policies like dual factor and following a security policy can help there. But having kind of gateways and steps to redundancy and geo redundancy at that, and multiple networks where your data sits on, is going to be critical. And then as well, within 2021, there was 140 million plus ransomware attacks just last year alone. Some of them were successful, some of them weren't, but it just shows you the sheer volume of what's ahead of us. Now, IDC and Gartner, they're predicting that this is going to do nothing but elevate at a compounding rate. So really interested to see what happens in 2022, but this is not slowing down anytime soon. Inflation is the fourth key. So not only can't we buy the same stuff that we used to buy, and not only is it going to take 6 to 8 months to get it, we now need to invest in more technology to make sure we're covering our bases. All of our workers are no longer in our office anymore, and they're working from home, which causes different types of needs. And security is on the rise, but now it's all more expensive. And servers and computers and technology and software, they're not like a loaf of bread or a gallon of gas. They don't fluctuate. They're not going to come back down. These manufacturers are seeing a way to increase pricing and keep it there. And they know that they can just keep moving that up as long as inflation nationwide is up. So as these become more expensive at a compounding rate, we're not going to see that dive back down. We're going to see that stabilize eventually over time, but for right now, everything is more expensive. And that is trickling heavily into the secondary market as well. Again, supply and demand. And the last piece is workforce, people, and retention. I don't know about all of you, but in my business and what we do, people and our employees are the most important piece of what we do. It's the secret sauce. And I would be nowhere, as well as Cloud at Work would be nowhere, without the fantastic employees that we have helping our customers and our partners. But there's a good study that came out that shows, are you a runway that's accepting planes, or are you a runway that's sending them off? And one key point in that discussion was companies are getting younger generation, instant gratification. We want things now. We want it on the devices we want it on when we want it. We want to work from home. And at the same time, we want to have efficient ways to do more with less. And it has to be performing. The consequence if we're adding additional steps when we know that there's a better way, what that causes is us to be curious about what else is out there. And as well, if we don't have stable technology to support us, especially now as culture retention and really creating that culture and feeding that culture and growing that culture is so important. Not only is that going to hurt keeping people if we don't have stable technology to support the growth of our usage of technology, but it's also going to extremely impact the acquisition or if we're attracting the right type of talent back in. In conclusion to that, I just want to say, again, these pieces aren't to scare anyone, but all 5 of these pieces, all 5 of them are real. They're all happening at the exact same time. What rate will they increase, or what rate will they converge together? I don't know, but this is what is happening right now. And in my opinion, completely my opinion, I don't feel like this is going to slow down. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. Now, the good news is that if you start to think about technology differently, and you start to think about how technology can create stability, eliminate risk, save costs not only now, but for the future, and as well help in the overall user experience and productivity. The cloud is something to seriously take a look at now more than ever. So at Cloud at Work, we focus heavily, as I mentioned, on delivering the absolute best experience for Sage users in the cloud. We have been around since 2017, and as I mentioned, I helped start the company. And when we started the company, we wanted to solve for enterprise cloud computing as well as an extreme Sage focus on cloud computing and combine the two. We saw a huge gap in that market. And so far, up until this point, we've had extreme success. We have over 400 customers, about 50 different Sage business partners working with us. We're certified in the Sage Partner Program as the only hosting company in North America for 100 and 300, and most recently, we're just certified for X3. We're extremely excited about the future and extremely excited about creating workloads and creating application performance in the cloud. And that's who we are. What you're going to see from Cloud at Work in the future is a lot of really unique things that wrap around that. We're going to start diving into aspects of your core business around your application, things like Microsoft Azure, things like Office 365. You're going to start seeing a lot more from security from us. You're going to start seeing a lot more from strategy from us. And we're going to consolidate that into a consumable experience that allows you to take your core business app to the cloud and allows you to then not worry about the rest of the components of that. And if we continue to focus on that application and driving really value for you, we feel that we can really move the needle in your business and allow you to focus on that application business process and how to really make your business more efficient, rather than worrying about all the 5 of the things I just mentioned and how to really juggle that, invest correctly and purchase correctly, as well as react to challenges as they stand, right? We have enough challenges in our business. We don't need to worry about how to buy a piece of hardware, right? Now, when we talk about what makes us different from other cloud providers, really it summarizes as reducing the layers. So when we look at a traditional Sage deployment, let's say, delivered on, let's say, Amazon, AWS, one of the largest cloud providers in the world, this is what it looks like. Now, this may look pretty comprehensive. It may look pretty simplistic in that approach, but as we talk about it and as we think about it, let's think about the experience. So if you have AWS, Amazon, again, fantastic organization and cloud capability, what Amazon is invested in is how to optimize hardware, virtual servers. They are not in the business of managing them, securing them, making sure data is transferring correctly and users are accessing correctly. They're not in support, and they're not going to make sure that it's tied through your application as well. That's in that case, you would probably go hire a management company or a reseller of Amazon or Azure. And that company will help you with provisioning. They'll help you with backup and DR. They'll help you with different components of delivering that infrastructure solution and bring it back to you, the customer. The challenge with that is most of those organizations don't understand Sage. And if they do understand Sage, we all know that we don't just use Sage. We use Sage and third parties like DocLink and SCI or Zap, and we use all different components to deliver that custom solution that we know to love. And we get that solution delivered to us through our business partner. And in most cases, our business partner is not going to be an expert on cloud computing or Amazon or Azure. So there's a big disconnect there. There's a disconnect right there in between those 2 gray buckets. And then you have, of course, you, the client. And in this scenario, if you, the client, are having an issue, you're going to raise your hand. And it's going to be completely up to you as to who you call first, the cloud management company or your business partner. And depending on the solution, you have to delineate, is this a cloud problem or is this an app problem? And you may choose right. You may call the cloud management company and they solve the problem right away. great. But the next time, maybe it was an app problem, and you called that management company and they said, hey, all the lights are green over here. You might want to call your business partner. You call your business partner, and your business partner is saying, look, I really have seen this before, and I think it's based on provisioning and the infrastructure that you have. We should make these tweaks. You should talk to your cloud management company. And before you know it, you, the client, are the one bringing these two together. You're trying to play matchmaker. And while the two units aren't finger pointing or playing dirty pool, you still have more burden in that experience. At Cloud at Work, we want a simple solution with your business partner to deliver that experience. And that happens with Cloud at Work and your business partner to you, the client. So in this case, you the client, are going to have a problem, whether it's an application problem or an infrastructure problem. It's not your expertise to know. You just know you have a problem. You can call Cloud at Work. We're experts in delineating between those two, and we're going to get your business partner involved if we know that it's an application issue. We're experts in how Sage and its third parties interact within infrastructure, and we're going to take care of that collaboration and triage through to your business partner. We work very, very well with consultants, and we know the talk, we talk the talk, and Sage is all we do. So it's going to simplify and create a predictable experience for you, and that's what we're all about. Now, that's what makes us different, but this is what makes us relevant. Within Cloud at Work data centers, we deliver a 100% virtual private environment geared towards organizations who really place extreme value on security, availability, and redundancy. Now, when I talk about virtual private, what that means is we're isolating a virtual set of servers dedicated 100% to you behind your own virtual private firewall, on your own virtual private network, with all of your own licensing. You're not sharing anything with anyone. So because of that, we're able to deliver 99.99% uptime. What that equates to is about 52 minutes of unscheduled downtime per year. Now, this is what we guarantee within our contract. And for the last 4 years, we've actually trended at 6 nines. So sub 30 seconds for our customers. All of our data centers are tier 4 facilities. This is a picture of our first two. So we have our primary facility in Philadelphia in Collegeville, and our second in Dallas, Plano. We're actually building a third currently in Toronto in Canada and opening up our Canadian facility to serve our neighbors up north. And as well, as I mentioned, we're expanding into Azure and offering different services within that, which opens up a lot of doors from geo perspective. These facilities are extremely redundant and extremely secure. When we talk about bandwidth and companies interacting with data centers 4,500 times a day, these facilities are built to sustain that type of traffic. We have internet capability within our data centers of burstable up to 100 gig of internet, which is a lot of capability there. As well, everything is 24/7 by 365. We're going to custom build this cloud to your business. We're not going to dictate to you what is in and what is out. There's no limitations to what we provide. So if you have a customization, a third party, no problem. If you have other applications or you want a virtual desktop, no problem. We can literally combine and contract and move around and push this button, move this needle within your experience for what you envision now or in the future, and we can scale that. Now, one piece that really creates the consistent platform that solves a lot of problems for you that on the first 5 that we talked about is really our backup and redundancy policy. So not only do you not have to worry about hardware anymore, do you not have to worry about procurement and scale, we can spin up virtual machines and resources within minutes for you. But we're going to make sure that that's secure and performing optimally. So all of your data that's within our environment is on pure SSD. So very capable, high performing disk. We don't have any lower tier disk. We're really focused on performance. All of our cloud customers as well will be normalized on 3.2 gigahertz core machines, something that's unheard of in the space. But we know that Sage is a very CPU intense application and requires that to perform very, very efficiently. And as well, every customer within our data center will have a 48-hour snapshot. So we're going to take a picture of your environment every single hour, and we're going to store that on a separate network. Then we're going to take a daily backup of your environment, and we're going to store that for 30 days in a separate data center. So out of the box, no matter what size customer you are, what business you're in, what your requirements are, you're going to have 3 layers of data within Cloud at Work. And why that's extremely important is when we go to get our cyber insurance policy, or when we go to maybe look at an audit, right? These are the things that they want to look for. They want to know that you're taking the extra steps. Is it 100% bulletproof? No, nothing is 100% bulletproof, but it's very, very unlikely that you're going to be put in a vulnerable position if we have these types of policies in place. We have that integrated cloud and Sage customer experience that we talked about, and as well, we have capabilities around security as well as dual factor authentication if that's a need, and as well disaster recovery. So on top of all of that, we can actually build a second environment for you and replicate it near real time and create a 4-hour recovery time objective and a 1-hour recovery point objective. Now, all of these things are great, but what they solve is peace of mind. Because as we go back and we look at all of those different pieces that we discussed, the inflation, the workforce, the security, the office, the supply chain, it creates that consistency that we're going to need to tackle this in the future. I've always said it's not if, it's when. It's when a customer is going to need to look at the cloud for a solution. So if there's anything that we can do to help you and help you in that process of evaluation, we're never going to tell you that now is the time. We're never going to tell you that the cloud needs to happen within your business today. We're simply educators. We're here to let you know what's available. We're always going to tell you the truth, and we're always going to try and stay ahead of the curve to let you know what's around it. So I want to thank you very much for your time. I want to open this up for questions if there are any. So now would be the time to type in the questions into the box, and I'm happy to answer any of them. Also, if you have any questions or anything that you would need, this is my direct contact info, tbauer@thecloudatwork.com. So check out our website. A lot of great content on there. We're posting blog posts daily, and as well, check out our social media on LinkedIn. I have one question here. It says, how long do you think that the supply chain will last? It's a great question. I'm certainly not a fortune teller or know the future, but if you look at the trends and kind of the rate at which things are happening, this time 3 months ago, lead times were 3 to 4 months. And they're continuing to go up. So as with anything, they're going to continue to go up before they come down. It's where do they stabilize at? The biggest piece that I've seen is computer chips. There's a shortage, and then as well in networking gear, there's a major shortage to a component of that gear. Now, will we innovate around that? Maybe develop a different supply chain altogether? Of course, I'm sure there'll be a solution there, but those things take time to really trickle down and to really impact that. Also, that would be a last resort. I would seriously think this lasts until mid-2023 before you probably start to see it decreasing. And even then, it's not going to decrease at an alarming rate. Great question. I don't see any more questions. So with that, I'll take it as I presented very well for all of you, and I'll thank you all very much for your time. Again, if you have anything that you'd like to discuss, I'd be happy to discuss it. Please give me a call or shoot me an email. With that, I'll say goodbye and thank you very much.